Welcome to the Supplement Engineer Podcast. My name is Robert Chinetsky. Back in the saddle. The boys are back together. The band is reunited, and all kinds of shenanigans are in store.
Right?
Justin Hall, Mr. SupplementSnoop. How are you doing, my friend?
Good, man. I got to knock the rust off a little bit, and it's like we never left, man. How
coming out of hibernation?
How the hell are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic. It's the first day that it has been below 90 degrees in Texas for like 2 weeks, so it's nice. It's overcast. I think the high today is only 85, so it's much more pleasant today, considering all things.
Yeah, this has been just since the last time we did this, I've moved several times, several different states, and now I'm in South Carolina. It's fucking hot here.
Y'all got the humidity and everything coming off.
It's hot all the time here. So that was one thing I was getting used to this year was it was like wintertime, and I'm like, okay, so it's still warm. So I totally feel you there. We have like a little bit of that Texas kind of thing going on and it's like you walk outside and it's like you get like a cardio workout because it's sort of like walking around with like a weighted vest on because you like walk out like into that air and it's just like, oh man.
You drink in the air. It's like that's one of the reasons. One of the good things about not living in New Orleans anymore is that we're not dealing with as much humidity here in Austin. But this year's been weird. So obviously we had the winter apocalypse where like all of Texas froze over for like 2 weeks straight, where we had all that shit. Yeah. And then we had like this blazing early summer heat come in, and we've been dealing with humidity, which reminds me of New Orleans. And that was one of the things we liked about Austin is like you go out in the mornings. It's nice and cool. You get a little breeze. It's warm, but you're not drinking the air and having swamp ash just walking in your mailbox. I mean, it's
right. That's cute.
So it's been interesting this year for whatever reason. I don't know what maybe the world's coming to an end again in 21 like it did in 20.
Yeah, I remember watching the whole thing where like you guys got like a ton of snow, and I'm like, I don't miss that. That's one thing I for sure don't miss. I don't miss any snow. But even like where I grew up, my parents still live there, like in Pennsylvania, and we went back to visit there in March, and it was like record temperatures there. It was like 80 degrees there in March, and I'm like, this has never happened before ever. It's a weird world out there, man. It's all coming crashing down here pretty soon, eventually.
Inevitably, but we'll be rocking and rolling until the end on the podcast. So when the whole world's going up in a ball of fire, at least they can listen to our two beautiful voices carrying them to the apocalypse.
Right. I mean, what a better way to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's get a recap. What's been going on? So you're down in South Carolina now. What's any new major releases with the app or anything like that?
What's been going on? Since the last time we did this, I don't know. Everything's changed.
Well, aside from the bourbon benders, like you and I have kept in regular contact about our bourbon enthusiasm. So obviously, there's been quite a few bourbon benders in there, and we can touch on that in a bit.
Yeah, that's been a big. I tell you what. Now we'll get into that because I really hit the ground running. Apparently, like when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, man, it was just like I talk about this all the time now, where it was like last year at this time there was just some huge life changes and things just kind of had to I had to really things were rough. Like even if my ex-wife and I separated and I just packed up my car basically and said I'm out. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm going to do. I said I just know I have to start something different. So I had to kind of basically like just stop everything that wasn't like immediate, like with the app and stuff like that, and the clients that we have and stuff like that. I was like, I have to just sort of focus on that, and then get somewhat settled. But sometimes you have to like, we're sort of like in this, I think this mode now, like where you constantly have to be like moving and growing, and people are obsessive with go, and what's this and what are we doing today? But it's like sometimes you just have to be like, okay, stop, because this is just entirely too much. Mm-hmm. So just take a break, pull back a little bit. And actually, because it was also as kind of COVID was kind of going on, COVID made a lot of people, we weren't really affected by it too much. Just I was already working at home, and things were, our business doesn't really like get affected by that, but like some of our clients do and things like that. But a lot of people had to sort of like streamline the whole entire process. It was like, wow, we are wasting a lot of time, we're wasting a lot of energy. And it's like, when you're trying to, when you're trying to promote what you do and get out there, it's hard to say no to other people. It's like, because you don't know where your next paycheck's coming from necessarily. It's like, you don't want to, you don't want to turn down opportunities. And we're
Absolutely.
like, that we're taught like right now, like you can't turn down anything because you just never know. And I just had to sort of like reboot a little bit. And, eventually I moved to Virginia for a little while over the summer. That was where like my best friend growing up lived. And, I got separated, and he's like, dude, just come down here. Right?
Yeah.
Come down.
Is that
here.
the one that you always played? Like, because every now and then you would mention that you were going to play Madden with one of your buddies. Is that the same one, or is that a different buddy?
Well, close. So it's not Madden. It's
it's NCAA football. That's what it was.
2010.
Yeah,
NCAA 2010. Because so we used to play it like in 2010, basically like when it came out.
Yeah.
And then like the one time like I went to visit him, and he's like, I mean, we have PlayStation 4s and PlayStation 5. This is PlayStation 3. He's like, we should just like
just go.
Sure enough. I said the only thing that's changed since like we were like kids is we just drink different things now when we play it.
Uh-huh.
You grow up, you're drinking soda, and then you're drinking like shitty beer because that's all you can afford.
Right.
And eventually now we just sit around drinking expensive bourbon while we do it like idiots. It's amazing.
Do your playing skills improve the more liquor that enters your system?
For a little bit. And then it really goes to shit. Yeah. We've done a study on that, extensive studies on that. It's the cognitive ability. There's a brief window where you're good, and you definitely get some, because I think you've done studies on this too, where it's like
extensive personal research in this area.
Exactly. You're writing articles and you get real creative, and then you kind of like get to a point where you're like, wow, I am shit. Like I think that I'm great, and then I look down and I'm like, wow, this is awful. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're in the same boat.
Or you finish the article and you really don't remember what the hell you wrote the next day when you go back and you try to proof it and you realize, what the fuck was I writing?
Yep.
But you enter that flow state where there's just a little bit of caffeine left in your system from your pre-workout. The bourbon starts coming in, and just it's a perfect marriage.
Mm-hmm. And then you, like I said, you can sort of see it when you have the tangible results in front of you. You're like, okay, that's where we went off a little bit. But so he got me into bourbon big time. So what happened was like I never drank bourbon. I was like, because every time I tasted it, I was like, why would you sit around and drink this stuff?
Yeah.
And then the one night I didn't know what I was getting with this, but he like poured me something. I was like, this is amazing. Well, it was Blanton's. And then I didn't realize at the time how spoiled I was in those moments that I was getting to drink Blanton's, because then I realized, I was like, when I started buying my own, I'm like, this shit is impossible to find.
Yeah.
And like people are like a couple $100 for a bottle of it, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I was like, what did you get me into? So since I don't like really like have like hobbies and things like that I spend money on now, that's one of them.
Bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the surprise picks you've come across as far as your bourbon ventures?
Like what has like surprised that I found them, or surprised that I just really like them?
Well, kind of like you, I kind of went down the bourbon rabbit hole last year. And so I've started watching a few different bourbon channels on YouTube. And apparently there's like this category, like these 5 different categories that all bourbon nerds have. So you've got your daily sipper. You've got the Friday night special, where it's like the long end of the week. It's not something you're going to drink every day, but once a week you're going to treat yourself to this. One is like a special moment. So like if you ever had a kid, like you would buy a bottle that was bottled on their actual, or like dipped in wax if it's like a maker's bottle on their birthday.
Okay.
One is something to impress your friends, and then something is like a once a year thing, like you got a raise at work and you're going to celebrate that 1 year with just this one thing. So if like a Pappy Van Winkle would be something like that one a year thing or something like that. So
I haven't like really, because you know what, I haven't gone that far, although the temptation is there, I think. Because sometimes you're like, if you do something, for example, like you get a new client or something like that, or you pass some sort of milestone and you're like, you know what, fuck it, kind of thing. Like, I've come close, but I haven't like gone too far. Like I bought a couple bottles. I haven't cracked that 1792 sweet wheat yet. I did try it. My buddy had a bottle, And then I tried it there. Well, that stuff is incredible. But I still have my bottle here. It's still sealed. And then I had that other one that I showed you. There was like the Yamato one with
the Japanese whiskey one.
I haven't cracked that one either, but a couple weeks we're gonna crack that one. There's like a big kind of thing kind of going on here, so we're gonna crack probably both of them. So, but I think I always have on hand. I love is like I can get a big bottle of Larceny here for like $40. Dude, that stuff's so good. Like that's kind of where I'm at. Like sometimes where I'm like, if I can drink this and it's $40 and for a big ass bottle, why? It's like it's kind of cool to show people. It's like, oh, I have this, but it's like I don't know, man. It's a lot of money sitting over there. You can kind of see it behind me. Right there, but.
No, I totally agree with that. So I mean, it's like they have some really good, like if you're gonna do like the everyday kind of bourbon, so something like Maker's Larceny, the Old Forester 100, Knob Creek. I mean, that's for a handled Knob Creek. I think I can get it around here for like $52. But I mean, still that's pretty affordable, especially like some people will spend like $75 on a little 750 ml bottle. And Knob Creek's a 9-year-old bourbon, which it's older than Blanton's. It's a higher proof than Blanton's. I don't know what the proof on something like Pappy Van Winkle is, but that's so stupidly overpriced that when they auction them off for charity and stuff, that's a good thing. But some of these bourbon prices, especially in like the secondary market, are absurd. And there's really good stuff you can get for, $30-$40 a bottle for like the regular 750 mils.
Yep. Yeah. And that was kind of my thing. Like it also kind of plays into what do you have available around you? Because it seems like, especially lately, like some people I have a friend in Ohio. He gets Weller and Weller Antique and stuff like that. It like nothing for him. It's super easy for him to get. My friend, he lives in Minnesota. He doesn't even know anything about bourbon. He can get Blanton's whenever he wants. I'm like, we can't get any of that stuff.
That must be nice.
Yeah, we can't get any of that stuff down here. So it's almost kind of too. It's like, well, what is available around you that you don't have to like. Because once you get into the secondary market, so that's bullshit. Like,
I don't think it would.
Nuts.
Well, it's like the people like you go on eBay and you spend, I don't know, $150 for like the original Jack 3D tub or Mesomorph that still had the DMAA, and it's like these things that go off market. It's just it can get stupidly absurd at certain times.
Speaking of DMAA, we took some the other day. We took some of that Assassin.
You still got a few scoops of that left.
Yeah, so we were out of town. My girlfriend and I went to visit same buddy, and he's always like kind of worked out. He's always been like a good athlete. But when I moved there around him, it was really good for me too. I hadn't worked out with somebody in a really long time, and him and I would go to the gym like every night. And he got super into it, and he's never had DMAA before. I was like, well, we're coming to visit. I said, I'll bring some Assassin just in case. And sure enough, man, we took it. We did push day on Saturday. Push day turned into push, pull, and a little bit of legs. Because, man, that stuff is just – you know what's crazy about that Assassin? I posted it in the private Facebook group, and there's no serving size on that thing.
Just one level scoop. It doesn't give you a grams or anything?
Nope. No.
Truth be told, that was in Apollo's early days, or I guess it was still Anarchy Labs back then.
Yeah, and it literally says made recklessly in our basement on it. And so I'm looking at it going, okay, there's like 17 grams of actives in here. I was like, I guess I'll go like 20 grams. So I just laid it out, and it was phenomenal.
Any heart palpitations, heavy breathing outside of in addition to what you normally get from that or anything?
No, and that was the thing. And then so my buddy had never used DMA before, and he was like kind of being weird about it. He's like, oh, and I'm like, dude, it's not really. So he took it, and he goes, I just feel really good. I'm like, I know. That's why people miss it so much. It wasn't because you get like some of these like really like ugly stimulants that you can use now, and you get a lot of yohimbine and stuff, and it just makes you feel kind of gross, like stimulated. That stuff wasn't like that for me, man. I just felt I wasn't like you're not like cracked out or anything like that. You're just like going and going and going.
Euphoric
I'm like,
almost.
Oh, no, we're like looking around each other. I'm like, I can keep going. So all right, let's go. Let's keep going. And we went pretty hard for about 2 hours in the gym too. It was good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do miss DMAA, or I guess the early days of DMHA too, to a certain extent. But it's like these days, like you said, it's either a lot of caffeine or lots of yohimbine in there. And there, even with me, like there comes a point where it's just uncomfortable. It's not like you can handle the stimulation from it, but it's that uncomfortable kind of feeling. And and it really kind of depends what else it's complexed with in the pre-workout. But there's always that. And I want to blame isopropyl norepinephrine because I want to assume that was, but the first time I think I ever tried that stim was in a prop blend, probably with something that had a ton of alpha yohimbine in it too. So was it too much alpha yohimbine? Was it the isopropyl norepinephrine that threw it over the edge? I don't know. I've always been wary of that stimulant.
Yeah, and one thing that I don't like is, it's uncomfortable, but I'm like, if I don't, because I'm not like an anxiety kind of person. Like I don't have like a lot of anxiety in my life. I was like, so why do I want to like induce it? Like, I don't like, I try really hard to mitigate anxiety and stress all throughout the day. So why do I want to go to my workout and like pull anxiety into my body? Like just don't like that feeling. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. It's like I get it, like, because I always criticize people that like complain about beta alanine and stuff like that. I'm like, it's a workout. You're supposed to be uncomfortable. Like, stop whining about it. But it's like I don't want, like an induced heart rate. Like I'll get my heart rate going by myself.
Right.
Kind of thing. It's like, so some of those things where the artificial feeling of being stimulated, I don't like sometimes. And that's why I like about, there's been some pre-workouts that are like, like higher stimulant, but you don't get that effect. It's almost like you feel it more like as you're actually working out. That's what I like. I like to feel it as I'm in my set, going deeper into my sets, rather than like as I'm in between sets, just sort of like jittery and bouncing around. I don't like that anymore. Anyway, once you realize there's another way to do it.
Right. Yeah, and I found like there's certain ingredients that I can't do. Like if I'm ever training with Sandy and it's a leg day, I can't have anything that like I almost need like a pre-workout that almost has theanine in it to like calm me down, because like that's my favorite day of the week to train. And if she's, I don't know if your girlfriend is like this, but if y'all train together, she wants to talk about like 10 different things. So she'll be thinking like, oh, well, I've got to do this later. Oh, and I need to go pick this up. And, oh, well, let's go talk with Mary Sue and Bobby about getting together this weekend. So Sandy's mind is all over the place. And I'm trying to sit there doing like deadlifts, squats, lunges or something like that. And she's chirping in the back of my head. And if I have anything that's either got like a decent dose of yohimbine in it or just some other kind of like super aggressive stim blend, it's like cup of coffee on leg day if Sandy's going to be training with me, because otherwise it's like all of that. It's like you get that angst and you just want to say shut up or something. Like just let me just like get into my zone and just
exactly. And it's like you don't mean that. That's not how you feel, but it's like it can make you like. I get that all the time. Like my girlfriend and I train together every day. She's an animal in the gym, and that's one of the things that. So it's kind of funny. Like when we met. Like the first time, like I came here and like, came down to visit a nutrition store and stuff like that. We met, and I realized I saw her supplement collection.
You got jealous.
I was like, holy shit! I was like, this rivals mine.
Yeah.
But it was kind of funny. So we train together all the time, and not that we don't talk, but we do. But it's very much like I love that training because we're like in the zone. Like very much like here to put in work kind of thing. But do you use Spotify for the gym?
We have, so we train at home. We got all of our stuff here, and I have Spotify on I'll put it through my laptop and then through the speakers. Yeah. So
have you ever done the Spotify like group sessions?
No, I didn't even realize that was a thing.
Dude,
I'm gonna have to look that up. All right, let me make a note of that.
It is the best shit ever. So.
What is it exactly? It's like, so for the listeners that have no idea, they're behind the times like me.
Yeah.
What in the world is it?
Yeah. So you can listen to the same playlist. As long as you have AirPods. I think it doesn't matter if you have AirPod Pro or not. So anyway, start this group session in Spotify. You can just send a text message link to whoever. So like we do it all the time. Like her and I will be listening to the same playlist. I'll just send her the link while we're at the gym. But then like I could send the link to you. You could be at home listening to like what we're listening to, or like you could be at the gym, 3,000 miles away, and we could be listening to the same playlist. So we'll get on there and like you can have, I think, like 5 people on at the same time. So I'll send it to people, and we'll all be, so and so will be working in their garage, and we'll be at the gym, and somebody will be cutting the grass or something like that, and everybody's listening to the same music, and then you're just kind of like, playing different songs. So, dude, it's incredible.
That is so cool. Yeah. I'm guessing, is that a new kind of development they released last year because everything was shut down and all of that nonsense?
Yeah, I think so. I think we discovered it probably like maybe over the winter time. I think it was still, it might even still say it's in beta. But it's really cool. It's
let's go. I'm gonna have to look that up. Okay.
Let's see what it is. Yeah, it's like if you go anyway.
Or do you need premium to use it, or is it free to like people that are just using regular Spotify?
Yeah, so you do need the premium version. That is
okay. All right.
But yeah, dude, it's so fun. Like, so we my one buddy, he always trains in the morning, and so when I get up, he'll send the link, and then like I'll be like having coffee or whatever in the morning around the house, and it's like I'm listening to his playlist, and it's like he's in the gym. So it's just, I don't know. I'm like, God, it is the coolest thing. Especially when you get like a bunch of people that like all this. So we listen to like crazy stuff at the gym. Like people would be, I think, shocked to if they ever heard. Oh, I got a funny story for you. Yeah. So the one night so him and I are lifting together. We would always go to Planet Fitness. There was a Planet Fitness, which actually Planet Fitness ain't that bad.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I was like my ears perked up because it gets shit on a lot, and I mean I know how you like to train, so just like there was a little bit of like a a cognitive disconnect there, but I mean really you can get a good workout anywhere. Like that's I think a misconception. Even if you got nothing but like a kettlebell, you know how to work your ass off. You can get it regardless of whatever.
Yeah, they had some nice equipment there. At least they did it the one. If you want to go heavy on some like free weights or like dumbbells, it's not the place.
Right.
They have some like really nice machines and stuff like that too. So anyway, so the one night, we're both listening and we got like an 80s playlist, like kind of just rocking out, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm there and I'm finishing up my set, and he's like, dude, I'm gassed. He goes into the bathroom to finish up. And so sometimes like if a person will like leave the session or something like that, the sound will go from the AirPods to the phone. Like it'll like kind of like switch up. Happens like once in a while. So I had the volume turned all the way up on my phone, and he like leaves the session. So I'm sitting there in the middle of my set, and my phone's sitting off to the side, and freaking Whitney Houston, How Will I Know, starts like blasting in the gym, right? And so I'm sitting there and I'm finishing up, and I'm just like, oh my God. Right? Everybody like stops what they're doing and like, what the hell? And they like look around, and I'm like, whatever. Yeah, Whitney Houston, How Will I Know? I was rocking out to that. Now everybody knows.
There you go.
Yeah. So those are
man.
People would always be shocked at the type of stuff that we're usually listening to at the gym.
Yeah. So we've got an 80s. So we had one that we had kind of agreed on that we had made 2 or 3 years ago. This was when we first came across Spotify, and it had stuff like ZZ Top, Van Halen, had some Rocky IV stuff, like just really good like classic rock, of course, stuff. And then so we got away from that, and then for a while last year, Sandy didn't want any kind of like angry music or even like classic rock she wasn't feeling. So it was like we listened to a bunch of Earth, Wind and Fire for a while. Then we did like Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Yeah.
We got started with the like disco hits and shit like that. It was interesting. But I mean, it's sometimes like for certain sessions, even if like you're just in a good like headspace and you get the right pre-workout and stuff, you don't really need like the angry music because I'm already amped up. I don't need something to like get me more. Kind of the same thing with the stims that we were talking about earlier. It's like you don't need to induce that hyper stimulated, verging on anxious state. You're just kind of there. And so now we've gone back to a good old 80s stuff. But she says she only wants stuff from 80s movies. So we've got obviously all the Rocky IV stuff. We've got Eye of the Tiger from Rocky III. We've got You're the Best Around from Karate Kid.
Of course.
A couple songs from Top Gun. And then,
we were just listening to Take My Breath Away the other day.
Yeah, I hopped in the car the other day, and it was on the radio, and I thought, all right, I got to listen to it. It's you got to do it.
Well, so now, like exactly what you're just saying, like I think we're at the level where you match up your pre-workout with your playlist, with your workout itself. Because like if you take something, like I've been taking a lot of things lately where it's just like feel good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to listen to a bunch of angry music while you're feeling like super happy. It's like you listen to some just crazy pop boy band type shit, and it's just like it just like all connects together, man. You just have a great workout. So yeah, we're at the point where we're like, okay, we figured out the pre-workout game. How do we add in the Spotify playlist to the workout and the pre-workout? So it's all synergistic.
Yeah. Well, don't feel any shame for Whitney Houston, because I was talking with Shane at Stack 3D one day, and he said he's a Celine Dion fan, and so I said, you're not actually listening to like My Heart Will Go On in the middle of like a deadlift session or anything. He said, fuck no, you retarded? I said no, but I just that's every guy's kind of got those guilty pleasure songs that they're okay listening to. They just might not be training to them, or they might. It's funny.
You have no idea how significant what you just said. So when my buddy and I, we get together, we drink bourbon, we play college football, but we play music too at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So I remember there was like a time where we would usually listen to like just whatever, just like really good like hip hop music or like rock or something like that. And it's like you're kind of going. And I remember like sort of testing the waters like of our friendship, like what songs is he okay? Because I'm like, I kind of want to listen to something like pretty fruity, you know what I mean? Like
George Michael and Wham.
Like dude, for real. Like, and so just the other night, he's like, I'm nervous to play this song. He's like, I'm actually nervous. We've listened to everything basically at this point. Like, and he played Celine Dion, and it was so funny because I'm like, as soon as it came on, I looked at him, I was like, you fucking, and then I just started belting out the song like right away. Like, I'm like, I'm not going to pretend like I don't love this song. Come on.
How many glasses of bourbon were you into it by this point?
A lot. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and we definitely were singing Heart Will Go On. But
only you got a video of that. That could have been like the intro to this podcast.
I think that's why I made sure my girlfriend was there. Just so I'm like, okay, like I'm good, right?
Like, you're serenading your girlfriend. You're not singing it to your buddy.
For like street cred. But 100%, it was just this past weekend. Just listen to that song.
Oh my goodness. Oh man, good stuff. All right, so if you're matching your pre-workouts to your playlists, and you typically train with your girlfriend, what happens on a day when y'all aren't vibing on the same wavelength? What if she wants something super aggressive, you want something a little bit more mellow on the pre-workout side? How do y'all navigate that channel?
I'm really bad with the playlist. Like I don't let anybody else touch the playlist.
So whatever mood Justin's in, that's the tone for the day.
Pretty much, and like that makes me sound so bad, but I'm pretty easygoing. Like I compromise on it. I don't really like it, but that's like one of those things. I'm like, don't touch the playlist. Yeah. Like if someone else like changes up the song or something like that, because you can control it. Like if you're on our playlist listening too, you can put stuff like in the queue. And I mean, I don't like get mad about it, but I'm like, don't do that. I'm bad. That's like one thing that I know that I'm terrible about. I like to be in control of the playlist.
That's fair enough. We all got our things.
Yeah, because sometimes too, it's like you're kind of going, and then it's like I'm not feeling this, I'm not feeling this. So you're kind of like going back and forth. You're trying out different things. It's almost like sometimes when you go to the gym, and maybe it's push day, but you're just not feeling it. So you change it to pull day, and then next thing you know, you have a great workout. So. But yeah, she's good about that. She knows I'm not, I'm not a dick all the time. So if I'm a dick about like one thing, she's very like good about it. Like, okay, this is Justin's thing, so we'll just kind of let him.
That works, man. What kind of supplement goodies or pre-workouts have you been running through? I guess we get so many each week or each month. I guess like maybe your top 3 or 5 that you've run over the past couple of months.
Yeah. There's been some good ones. Did you get to try the Unbound stuff?
I did the beta testing on it. I didn't try the finished product of it.
That Unbound pre-workout is awesome.
You like it?
Yes.
Good.
And it's also, I think it's great the way it's put together. I think Galaxon was one of the first ones, I think, to sort of, I don't want to say first ones, but you know how like it became like all the thing to have all like the performance and the pump and the all-in-one sort of pre-workouts, and like all of a sudden you couldn't make a pre-workout that didn't have citrulline in it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then Galaxon made Specimen. They're like, look, this is the stem and here's the pump. Like separate them.
Right.
Right. And that was what I thought was cool about Unbound is the pre-workout is focus and energy, and the pump is pump. It's like that's the way I would do it too. I mean, to be honest with you, like I don't want a bunch of like redundancies and overlap in there. I think like so they just pick one lane and just go hard, with that whole thing. So the Unbound one really for me is very like mood and very like energy driven, but it's exactly like what we were talking about. It's not, even though there is yo-yo blend in there, right? There's yohimbine, both yohimbine.
Yeah. We what did we put in? I don't remember the final dosages we agreed on for it. It was
I think like two and one maybe.
Or a gram and a half of each. I don't know. I've got it. I can pull it up. Let me see. But like when Mark was coming up with the idea for the line, or he first told us about it, he said, "Hey, I kind of want to do." We want to break it off into we want to have small scoop sizes because they wanted something. I guess people could dry scoop at the time or something, but it was, I want something that's a small scoop and we can just do it that way. Because the first iteration of the formula was this monster, like all inclusive. He said, I don't want that. Let's make something small and we'll keep it nice and tight. And so that's what, came out. So it's 2 milligrams of alpha yohimbine and 2 milligrams of yohimbine.
It feels good to me. But I noticed like I said, I noticed it more. You can get deeper into a set, like the focus sort of like comes in like right at the right time. There's the Unbound one, and then surprisingly enough, like it looks really extreme, but the Galaxon Gfy that they use with, same kind of thing. It's not overly like hardcore. You feel it more like in the head, like focus kind of thing. There's they put something we tinkered around with is the ivy leaf extract. It's like a reuptake. It's like a reuptake inhibitor. That thing seems to be really strong. But the GFY and the Unbound are two that I've really liked lately. I just it's hard for me to use anything else, which kind of sucks because they're not like nothing to mess around with. But those are two. And then like Alpha Lion, they redid not redid, but they kind of made the extreme version. Superhuman. They did yo-yo blend and they put in extra in there. And that one's really good, just like all their pre-workouts, I think, have been.
Is Galaxon okay? Yeah, so it's the Specimen Gfy edition.
Yep,
that's what it was. Okay, all right, yeah, because I put the first thing I pulled up. So I think I'm trying to remember which one, because Joey and Mike had sent me some sample of Specimen, and I think it was this blend. He didn't tell me what it was. It was just in that sample packet. And I remember asking Joey in a text. I said, "Is there any yohimbine in there?" And he said, "Lots." Or he said, "Oh yeah," something like that. And I remember I mixed up the full scoop because I thought in my head when I mixed this up, I thought maybe I should just do a half scoop. And then in the back of my mind, I thought Justin's going to be mocking you if you only go a half scoop. Make the whole scoop or not.
Yeah.
So I mixed up the whole thing, and I shit you not, man. I got 3/4 of the way through drinking the shaker of it. I didn't touch the rest of it because that son of a bitch hits fast and it is strong. And I was like, you are stemmed and blitzed. Not uncomfortable. I think if I would have drank the rest of it, I probably would have verged on that over one. But man, you were just like zoned in blitz for like 5 hours straight. It took forever for that thing to stop.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed too is same as the Unbound. It's very like long lasting for me is which is kind of a good thing, but it could be not necessarily a good thing for some people. Also realizing, right, that my stimulant tolerance and a lot of people's stimulant tolerance is probably a little bit different. But I really like just the mood, because I'm just like I don't know, like I I said I don't want to be like, I don't want to have artificial heart rate going on. I don't want to have the
Yeah.
super anxiety. I was like, I just, in general, like I'm in a good mood when I go to the gym. Like I'm happy. So it's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I just want to keep going in that direction. Those ones, both super impressed with both of those. I don't buy pre-workouts very often, but I'm gonna buy more of both for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, those are solid. I mean, anything coming out of Galaxon, like, and you and I, like, when they first burst on the scene, you and I were kind of reviewing the pounds, we're thinking, this looks kind of weird, and then you try it for yourself, and you realize, all right, never mind, we're good.
Yeah,
They know what the hell they're doing down there.
yeah. Not only that, but they're I've gotten to know them really well with like what goes on behind closed doors, basically when it comes to like their ingredient testing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't know. I'm sure they'd be okay with me saying this, but there's companies where it's like you take a pre-workout that's being made at a separate manufacturer and they'll like replicate it for a client or something like that, and it comes out different. Like it's
Michael was telling me about that maybe about a month ago. Him and I were on the phone, and he was he told me about that.
It's scary, man. The more I learn about this industry, the more terrified I am about this industry. And it's like, it's kind of another thing too. Like when you look at like Nutribio, take like even their pre or their pre-extreme or something like that. I think some people look at it and they go, oh, well, because on paper it looks like a lot of other things.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something to be said for companies that use legitimate ingredients all the time. And that is like a scary proposition because the more you use stuff, it's like, I know Galaxon was being accused. People are like, oh, they're spiking their stuff and this and that. And I'm like, well, I've seen all the testing from Galaxon.
Yeah.
I haven't seen yours. These people that are saying that. I was like, so maybe you're not getting what you think you're getting. That's scary.
I mean, I've even, like, I've talked to Joey before, like, just trying to maybe get some products around there, just one of the brands I'm doing some consulting for or whatever, trying to get some formulation going. I said, hey, can you run this? And he says, well, look, we're not touching new Pept. We're not going to touch X, Y, and Z gray area stuff. So, I mean, if you think they're spiking stuff, they're not even willing to touch something.
Yep.
Like, I don't even know if they're still, they're probably still using hordenine because that's in Specimen.
Yeah, it's in.
But they wouldn't touch, I don't think, definitely not DMHA, not new Pept. I think they're weary a little bit on urea. I'm not sure. I haven't seen them use that in anything, so.
That's a good question. I don't know, but you're 100% right. Like, if anything, I've also seen them. They put more of an emphasis on this as they've grown too.
Yeah.
Is they are big on compliance. Like they're, I know that they look at places. Well, and now they're going into GNC and stuff like that. So you have to have certain like ducks in a row. But they're not like they're not an underground like weird stuff kind of brand. There is a lot of experience. I know we've always kind of said this. The more I get to know them, there's a lot of experience in that building, and it plays out. There's no secret. Like the whole entire process. Not that they do everything perfect, but it's like there's a lot of attention to detail throughout the process that ultimately leads to a really good product.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited. I'm lucky. I get to try pretty much everything that they do, and they have some new version 2 stuff that's still coming. So they're not slowing down, as the saying always goes. No, everybody's just getting started, but they're not slowing down.
They're still rolling it out, yeah. It's just they're and I don't want it just to turn into a love fest for Galaxon, but when people do shit good, we try to give them credit, and a lot of the times we focus on the negative or like the bad things of the industry or the charlatans and the fakes and the phonies or all the bullshit science that comes out there. But it's like when you recognize good stuff, it's hard to move off of that sometimes. And their Plasm Surge V2, stellar. I mean, that's one of my favorite non-stim pumps that I've used. And there's a lot of really good options on the market. So when somebody always says, and it's the question that you always get and you hate, what's the best this? And I'm like, here's 10 non-stim pump formulas that are amazing. And Galaxon's is up there. FSU's up there, Ghost Pump's up there, Bare Knuckle from Apollo's up there. There's a shit ton of them.
Yep. Yeah, and actually, now that I think about it, I don't even think I got to try the new Bare Knuckle. There's also, did you try Nick's new pump product, Rage's new Vaso?
No, I haven't yet. No.
It's
Solid.
yeah, it's like same kind of thing. Like now I sit there and I go, Alpha Lines is really good. I'll go in there and I have like Plasma Surge V2, there's Ghost Pump, there's Nix One, there's Volugen, and I'm like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
what do I want to take today? There's so many good ones out there, right? That whole thing, when people ask what's the best, it's literally getting more absurd every day because so many people are getting in the space with so many good things. I like the Unbound pump one too. That was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a fun that was a fun, interesting project to do. I need to get the final samples because we beta tested a bunch of them. I need to get the final one to try the actual flavors of what they ended up deciding on because everything was still in beta testing as far as the flavors. Although I did try the Tangelo flavor of the Unbound Pump Pre, and that was I thought that was one of the best flavors to ever come out of Nutribio as a whole. Because sometimes their flavors are kind of they're just hit or miss for me. I know some people love them, other people despise them. They've always kind of been right in the middle for me. Certain products are really good. Their proteins have always kind of been. I don't know what it is. Something about their proteins has always kind of missed with me, with the exception of one or two products.
Mm-hmm. The Tangelo one is good. I really like that one. I had the grape lychee. Lychee one.
Yeah, that was a cool flavor.
That's what it tastes like. You know what I mean? It's like spot on. I didn't really like it, but but that's exactly what I mean. That's what it tastes like. It tastes like a combination of those two things. It didn't really like land with me, but the Tangelo one is really good. And I just don't like fat burners, man. The one that they make, I can't keep like the names sure. Unlock, I think is the name of the Killer Formula. I tried that one. I just don't like. There's something about like these thermogenic fat burner sort of powders. I think it's also too because the way I train and like the gym we sort of go to, it's it's hot here, it's humid here. It just doesn't mix well with the way I sort of go about things. Like it just kind of gives me these. So I usually just don't ever use fat burners, although that formula is, those are some expensive products. Expensive formula.
Yeah. Looking at the cost of goods on them when they were going through this, it was some of the conversations with Mark. You're saying, all right, so this is X cost, and I'm thinking, we could probably cut this ingredient or it's redundant pathway or something like that. It was, but I mean, that's the thing. So like, do you want to do the fully dosed stuff? And then if you do fully dosed, when do you start using trademark? When do you start using generic and those kind of things? It's it's a juggling act.
Although you kind of have your own supplements now, right?
Not so much. Not so much. Huh?
It's like we've had this conversation before where it's like I don't have any interest in making my own brand at all. Because that's one reason too. Like, as I love everything that Unbound is doing. There's not a chance in hell I would do that if I was a brand. There's no fucking way. Like it's way too expensive. I could never afford to do that.
It's like you and I have talked before. It's like we would start up some kind of like separate LLC. We wouldn't publicize that we were doing it. It would be an Amazon brand. You just make some shitty prop blend, sell it for $30, make it to where it's only like a $4 thing. And like that's what you're gonna do if you would do just like pure like sell out and just do a cash grab kind of thing. But like the brand ownership stuff, no, there's zero interest in that.
And it's like, and you would already have people that would buy it because your name's attached to it, and it's like, but still, like the more, and I think because you consult for brands and you help them and stuff, like you see what they go through. You know what I mean? Like, and then now you have these crazy supply chain issues, and it's like, I don't. I'm good, man. I'm good.
Now, the business acumen and stuff just let me nerd out about the ingredient stuff, explaining it to people and writing articles and stuff like that. Let me do that or help you with formulas. The business side of it, the marketing of it, the coming up with the names of the products, unless like I just have a spark of inspiration or something, thanks to bourbon, that all of that stuff eludes me, or it would just take way more brain power than I would want to commit to it to make it work well.
Yeah, and it's like I think like a lot of things now we're seeing all these collaborations. Those are like getting a little. It's like they're not unique anymore. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think I saw Rise do one with Sunny D. That's really cool. I like that. But it's like even now, it's kind of like, okay, you know. All right.
Yeah, that's what I wonder. Is it? And I know like Ghost was I guess probably the first brand to do the official collaboration. If they weren't, then I can't remember who actually did it.
Yeah,
So
I think
Ghost has been, I guess, the most well known to do it. If they weren't the first, I'm pretty sure they were. But if they weren't, then they're at least the most well known or most associated with it.
Yep.
It's just something I juggle with, and I know Dan has said, it helps legitimize the supplement industry and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm wondering, for the average consumer that's walking into like a GNC or something like that, if they see the Warheads flavor, are they thinking that product maybe is inherently safer to try because it's got an official flavor collaboration with that company on there, or does it carry as much cachet as it could be perceived to? I mean, obviously, it's working well for them, so they're making a huge amount of money with it. It's successful for them and for the people they're licensing the flavoring and the logos from and all of that stuff. So it's good for them. I'm wondering about for all the Me Too brands that are trying to jump on the bandwagon and do that. Is it going to have the same success or carry the same kind of recognition?
Yeah, I don't think that. Right, because we know Ghost isn't popular because of the collaborations, right? They were already, the collaborations were just something that they could add to their portfolio that was like really cool.
Yeah.
But a collaboration is not going to suddenly, I don't think, make your brand, because I don't think, exactly like what you just said, I don't think most people would know the significance of Ghost, say, getting some of those original collaborations. That was a big deal, especially for this industry, exactly, because we know the legitimacy sort of issues. But I think the average person would just be like, oh, okay, cool. But I don't know that they would know that it's such a huge step for the industry. Most people don't know that. So it's like, now once you start seeing, a lot of people doing them, it's like, well, I don't know how much that means. I think it's almost getting to a point where it's nothing wrong with it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's a cool thing, but it's really almost like, all right, well, because everyone's doing it, it's like, well, we have to throw our hat in the ring kind of thing, as I'm seeing more brands do it. And I think there is some legitimacy to the whole, well, does the collaboration make sense for the brand?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, does it fit in with what they do, kind of thing? And I don't know. It's something that, like, I think matters way more to us than it does the consumer, right? Because like Dan was saying, it brings legitimacy to the industry, but that's more important for us. That's not really that important, I don't think, for like consumers. But I think he would agree with that too. But there's like, but then you have a brand like when Axe and Sledge did the Icy one. That one, Icy doesn't really have anything to do with Axe and Sledge, but that, because their brand is so freaking strong, it just went like crazy. People just love that stuff because they love Axe and Sledge. It's not because necessarily that they're. I don't know. It's a cool thing. Like I said, I'm not like saying it's a bad thing at all, but it's just sort of. I just think it means different things for us than it does the consumer.
Right. Yeah, you brought up the Icy collaboration with Axe and Sledge, and I wonder. I'm curious from Icy's standpoint. So they had signed an agreement, or the supplement. So Sparta originally had Icy flavors for their stuff, and then Sparta, I don't know whatever happened, and then they went.
No one knows.
No, they just kind of like there was the news that they were going to do the Icy collaborations. I don't know if they actually ever released them or not. And then they disappeared. So I don't know, like, if you're Icy, does that leave a bad taste in your mouth? No pun intended. About licensing that flavor, or is the deal structure that's, hey, you know what, you're using our flavoring technology and the name of it and the logo. You have to pay us X amount per month or per quarter, whether you sell that amount of product or not. So they're still getting their money, whether your company goes belly up. It fuck all matters to them. So then just they transfer a new flavor over to another brand.
That's a good question. And we, I don't know if you saw this, we spent a couple days with Axe and Sledge a couple months ago. Yeah. That was awesome. Like, first of all, it wasn't even like an industry thing. Like, we just went up there because they're friends of ours, and it's kind of close to where I grew up. So I was like, okay, we can make a whole trip of this, go up and see my parents and stuff like that. But we talked a little bit about that, but not really like in depth about the collaboration. It was more like we were talking to them about like where they started, and they were showing us like the progression. I tell you what, man, like not to get on like a side tangent, that is a mega fucking brand.
Yeah, they're getting big.
They are absolutely killing it on, and most people, I don't want to say like most people, but I don't think people would realize just how successful they are. Like, but they did the whole thing with like All American Roughneck and then Axe Sledge and sort of putting, American Made Nutrition. They put all this like pieces together, and that is a serious operation going on out there. They are, but everything, I think it's because same as if you look at Ghost, it's because all the pieces line up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the whole, their branding is elite because they're doing things that are just what their company stands for, kind of thing. They're not trying to reinvent things. They're not trying to copy anyone else at the same time. They're just doing them. Yeah. And you have someone like Seth obviously gets you a good foothold already, but having a sponsored athlete, like, I mean, we see it all the time, like having people attached to it might help at the beginning, but it's not going to keep people coming back. You know what I mean? Unless everything sort of like fits together. And they are, that is a serious operation up there for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Mike, one of the I don't know their official title, so I'll say one of the co-owners of Axe and Sledge.
Yep.
And just trying to get him back on the podcast, just say like, hey, let's do a catch up because it's been a year, maybe a little bit longer since I've had you on. When I had him on, were you with that me? Because it was him and Pat. Were you on that call with me too?
No, I missed it. I remember when you guys did that though. Like I wasn't able to. Mike and Pat, good dudes.
Yeah, so I want to get them back on, and Mike said he's going to try and wrangle up the whole gang. So, but I don't know what the whole gang entirely entails because I know they've got like a core group of people and all of that stuff. So it's like they got Mike, Seth, they got Pat. I don't know the rest of their team on there. I know Heather's up there now too, who used to be at Price Plow. So she's reached out a couple of times on email to go over some stuff, and so it's cool. I'd like to do like some kind of, I don't know, get like a panel discussion roundtable, just like with the whole Axe and Sledge crew or something like that, just to see what's going on with them.
Yeah, because I think like when Jacob and I did the podcast with Seth, we kind of came back and people ask me all the time, they're like, holy shit, like what was it like doing a podcast with Seth? And to be honest, like Seth is as legit as they come. Like that dude he's legit, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, I was like, and for good reason, I was like, Seth gets a lot of recognition things. I was like, but everybody in that building is like that.
Right.
I was like, you guys got to meet Mike and Pat and stuff like that. I was like, I didn't get to meet the other partners, Bobby. I didn't get to meet him. So Bobby and Seth had All American Roughneck.
Right.
And then Mike and Pat had American Made Nutrition. And then they all kind of came together. And they told the story about that, how it didn't go well at first. They all like basically wanted to fight each other the first time that they met. And then they all kind of came together for Axe and Sledge. So they brought the experience and the notoriety of both brands and sort of brought it together. It's actually a pretty cool story. But they're all the same. Like they're all, and you should just go up there just to see their bourbon wall that they have in their office.
I know. I've heard good things. And I know Mike is a huge bourbon. I don't know if Pat is. I know Seth and Mike are both bourbon aficionados.
They live in. They are.
Yeah. Which I guess that can bring us around full circle now. So, do you do any supplements for liver health?
No. Although I haven't been checked in a while.
Yeah.
There is, if I was going to do something, I would probably do something like Tutka. I think we know Tutka is good. But I haven't had my blood work done in a long time. So
me neither.
I actually was just thinking that same thing, but I don't really like drink that much, but I take Complete Health, Jeff Long's Complete Health product. I don't take the full dose. The full dose is like 12 caps or something like that. I think that's more for like people that are doing some really toxic shit to their bodies.
Yeah, and probably like the 250-pound guys out there too.
Yeah,
like the mass monsters. Yeah.
Yeah, and I usually take like half dose or maybe even a little less sometimes, and that's that rather than actually getting checked. So don't do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, now that I'm down here and I'm actually like settled, I haven't had like a primary care physician and things like that for like a couple of years because I've been like sort of bouncing around and stuff like that. So I'm excited that we're finally like settled here and we'll be here for a while, probably, I think. And yeah, I need to get my ass to the doctor, that's for sure, just for a little checkup.
Yeah, I haven't been to a doctor since I went to the dermatologist when we first moved to Austin. That was October of 2016. So I think I went to the dermatologist probably in 2017. I haven't been sick since then.
Yeah, I haven't either.
To go and get any blood work. The last time I went to like a legitimate doctor, shit, was probably 2015 when we went to right before we left Mandeville and moved up to Michigan.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not overweight. I sleep well. I eat well. I exercise plenty.
Yeah.
So I mean, outside of my enthusiasm for bourbon, then that's really the only knock against me, I guess.
No, it's good. And I'm a little bit, it's probably a good thing too, managing your stress and things like that. Yeah, I think the last time I went to the doctor I was still in Pennsylvania. So probably at least 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think I only went like once and just for like a physical. And it was like, that was the only time I had gone in the last like 5 years. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
we're young and healthy and stupid. What else? What other things to say?
I mean, we're invincible, man. Like,
well, you're not as young anymore. You're pushing 50, aren't you? You're like 48 now or something.
Yes, it will, because it's like sometimes it's kind of funny. Like when people ask me, I'm like, wow, this doesn't make any sense because literally, that's how I spend my time is. I don't have a job, right? Basically, I do whatever I want. I'm like a little kid, you know. Yeah. It's like I play video games with my buddy. We drink stuff like that, and kind of it's like might as well be in college, right?
Right.
So yeah, I just hang out on social media all day long.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to my parents this past weekend, and my mom finally, she's been part-time nursing for a while, so she's been a cardiac rehab nurse or a registered nurse forever, and so she finally went part-time maybe like 8 or 9 years ago. And so she's been just doing that because my dad's been fully retired for 5 years now. And so she's just been part-time, like one or 2 days here, like a couple weekends a month or something like that at the cardiac rehab center in New Orleans. And she said, I finally returned. She said, I got tired of doing it. It wasn't fun anymore. And so now I'm officially retired. She said, well, I'm like you, Robert. You don't really work anymore anyway, do you?
Right.
It amazes me how many people have said that. Like, I've got that since I left engineering in 2015. And so they're like, you don't really work. You're kind of retired nowadays. I'm thinking, I like that you think that, but just because I'm like super efficient and get all my shit done and get all my bills paid and I still have time to do stuff. But it's, it also makes it hard if family comes in and said, oh, well, you can just work whenever you want to, can't you? I'm thinking, I can, but if I'm around you 24 hours a day for a week straight, that gives me no time to actually get the shit done that I need to get done.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before too. One nice thing about all this is sometimes you can work when you're most efficient. And I think that's a big help. Like, when you're working for someone else, you're working when they want you to.
Right.
And you might not be that great at, getting stuff done at that time of day or, now with our schedule, it's like we have a lot of work to do, but I can do it in windows of time that I can just nail it and be done. So, you might be working a corporate job and it might take you 8 hours to finish a task because you're just not efficient at all. But now it's like, if you get to choose but the discipline part of it comes into it, but it's like, if you get to choose, you might be able to knock that out in 2 hours. What normally might take you 8 hours of just grinding and like screwing around and messing up and stuff like that. So it was kind of funny because I was talking to my dad, I think for the first time, because now I've gone through all these moves and stuff like that. And I was telling him, because he literally asked me, like the last time we had a really long conversation, like before I moved here, he's just like, so how do you support yourself?
Yeah.
I'm like, Dad, so finally I just had to show him. I'm like, this is what our clients pay us, and this is what this and that. And he's like, silence, and he's like, wow. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like, I promise. Like, I just, like, I don't know, but it's just so funny. Like, people have this interesting, especially when they come from a certain career path, and that's all they've sort of ever known. It's like, well, I just remember, I'm 40 years old, and he's like, how do you live? Like, how do you do things?
Yeah, yeah. It's Sandy's dad is much the same way. Like he's the prototypical, I guess, dad or father-in-law or whatever. It's like every time he comes around, he doesn't say a whole lot, but he's like, "Y'all good?" Like he'll pull Sandy's side, like y'all are good with money, everything, y'all are okay, because like he knows Sandy's a teacher, and so that's a very stable, like traditional job. And
Yeah.
I had a traditional job at one point. Now it's like Robert just plays on his computer all day long, or
Mm-hmm.
mixes up these powders and hopefully doesn't kill himself while he's shooting back all these weird things.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, Dad, we're good. Robert's, work is fine. It was, it's interesting.
Yeah, no, it's, people don't get to see it too. It's like, because, well, and like one good example is, just like all the other stories you hear, where it's like people see you now or see me now, where it's like you kind of have a flexible schedule and we do a lot of traveling and we kind of go here and there, but the sacrifices that were made in order to do that, like no one was watching your social media or like you do things when you were trying to learn this stuff and try to get good at your craft, kind of thing, to put yourself in a position. It's like that analogy you always hear with like sports, like in sports, like I think it was Conor McGregor said that the one time they were talking about making like $20 million for like a 15-second fight. He's like, I made $20 million for the last like 20 years leading up to this moment, kind of thing. And now you see me, kind of doing this thing. So it's just like one of those analogies where it's like, people don't see the work that you were putting in. Like while I was working and I was going to school, I was working on this craft, but nobody really knew about it because I didn't have anything to show anybody, back then. So it's like, and now you're finally like reaping the benefits, of all those hours you put in learning. You didn't just wake up with this skill and this information, you had to put in the work.
Yeah. And that's one of the funny things. I don't get that question as much nowadays. But I think it's like when we first started doing these podcasts, or when I was doing the stuff with Sandy every now and then, it's like, how do you learn all the stuff you do? And I'm thinking it's just like in school. There's no secret to it. It's not like I can fall asleep on the book and osmosis happens. It's, you just sit there for hours and hours a day on reading studies or looking up, like researching this, biological pathway and how does this ingredient affect that. And it's lots and lots of reading and then rereading and going through all that stuff. There's no shortcuts, or I hate the term biohack. There are no hacks.
I agree. I hate that fucking term, biohacking. It's like a buzz term, but it makes no sense. Well, one thing that you said too right there that was key is the repetition, right? Just like anything else. So something I've been saying a lot, like when people ask me like about supplements, I say there's really like, to me, there's like three sort of like pillars to supplementation. I was like, there's the science, which is great.
Yeah.
We need to know the science, but science, as we know, it's malleable. There's certain conditions, stuff like that. I was like, there's common sense. You know what I mean? And then there's experience. I was like, you have to sort of, and I can always tell, and you can always tell when someone is too far in one direction and they lack the other ones.
Yeah.
To people that are, and you're a big science guy, you're big into understanding that stuff, but you can tell when someone is just regurgitating science and they have absolutely no practical experience to go behind it. Because it's like, well, yeah, that was done in a lab on some rats, maybe rats, and it sounds really good on paper, but I was like, have you ever tried it? You know what I mean? And it's like, because you can have like different results. So this is I always talk about like three different things, and you can't get experience without, actually trying things. So there's just some things you're not born with.
Right. And that's very much akin, like your three pillars that you just mentioned there are akin to kind of what's going on in like the hypertrophy and strength and conditioning research side of things. It's the whole evidence-based practice where it's, what's the research telling us? What's your own personal experience telling you? And then what's kind of like the collective body of experience of you coaching and working with other people? It's like, it's not just all one way, and it's not all, like, you can't have all theory and no application. You can't have all application with no understanding. There's a good synergism and balance between the three of them.
Absolutely. Kind of like, that's why we always compare notes on bourbon intake versus cognitive output.
There we go.
I can't just go by my experiences. I'm like, okay, Robert, here's what happened. And we compare notes, and this is what science is all about,
Yeah, man. Yeah. Snoop, you got anything else, I think, before I've kept you on for an hour? I don't know if you have anything else to jump to immediately, or
Yeah, we got lots of stuff, but yeah, let's save some for, since this is going to be a reoccurring thing. We can always
Yeah,
we'll
we can talk
stuff.
offline, and we'll figure out a. I don't know if we want to come up with some catchy name for the show or something like that, or you know,
yeah,
we'll figure out something.
Yeah, I like it, man. It's good to be back. Good to see you.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. You want to plug anything before we hop off?
Sure. We can plug. I think most people follow me on Instagram at SupplementSnoop, but we also, Brady and I, our business scaling program, brand building program is at Scale Your Sups on Instagram. And obviously, like, Brady pretty well. I get a lot of recognition for being sort of the face of SupplementSnoop, but that guy is an absolute fucking maniac at understanding that process. And when people get to know him, I always get excited because people are like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's legit. So yeah, at Scale Your Sups is our thing. And yeah, other than that.
Cool, man. Awesome. Well, then, yeah, I'll include I've got all the old Supplement Soup links in there. I'm going to add the Scale Your Sups link into the show notes, and we'll be in touch, my friend. Thank you for your time, and this will be good.
Hell yeah, brother. Good to see you again.
All right, bud. Have a good one.